The humidity hit Guy Collins like a wall the moment he stepped out of Murtala Mohammed International Airport. Lagos didn't greet you, it consumed you. The honking of Okadas weaving between yellow danfos, the sharp smell of suya smoke drifting from roadside grills, the electricity of 10 million people living at full volume. It was beautiful, chaotic, and completely overwhelming. Guy had covered elections in Nairobi, Accra, and Johannesburg, but Lagos was something else entirely. He loosened his collar, flagged down a cab, and told himself this assignment would be straightforward. Cover the elections, file the story, fly home to London. He was wrong. By his first night, Guy had settled into a modest hotel on Lagos Island and decided to explore. A colleague had tipped him off about a club on Victoria Island, Club Onyx, the kind of place where politicians, businessmen, and celebrities rub shoulders under neon lights and Afrobeat bass lines. He arrived at 11 p.m., ordered a cold Star beer, and was beginning to enjoy himself when he noticed the back corridor near the VIP bathrooms was unusually quiet. Instinct, the same instinct that had kept him alive in conflict zones, pulled him towards it. Behind a half-open door, bathed in a thin strip of fluorescent light, lay the body of a young woman. Her torso bore surgical-like incisions. Her eyes were still open. Guy stumbled backward and reached for his phone. But before he could dial, 2 policemen appeared as if from nowhere, grabbed him by the arms, and shoved him against the wall. "You are under arrest," one backed, in a thick Lagos accent. Guy's press badge meant nothing that night. Before we go further, wherever you are reading or watching this from, whether you're in Ghana, Nigeria, South Africa, California, Jamaica, Trinidad, New York, Florida, Kenya, or London, welcome. We're glad you are here for this one. It's going to be a ride. We truly appreciate everyone who likes, follows, and shares this story with their 3 best friends or family members on WhatsApp. Your support means the world and helps this story reach more people. And even if you don't follow or like, please share it. Just share it. Someone in your circle
The
needs to
holding
read
cell
this.
at Bar Beach Police Station smelled of sweat, mildew, and broken promises. Guy sat on a concrete bench, his shirt still damp from the Lagos night air, his mind racing. He had tried to explain himself 3 times. "I'm a journalist. I found the body. I didn't touch her." But every word seemed to dig him deeper. The officer in charge, a heavy-set man named Inspector Bello, had cold, calculating eyes that suggested he had already decided Guy's guilt before asking a single question. Guy's phone had been confiscated. His press credentials were being verified. In Lagos, he was learning fast. The truth was the slowest thing to travel. It was past 2 a.m. when the cell doors swung open and a woman walked in, not as a prisoner, but with the confidence of someone who owned the room. She was tall, dark-skinned, dressed in a plain black t-shirt and cargo trousers, her locks pulled back tightly. She exchanged sharp words with Inspector Bello in rapid Yoruba, slapped a manila folder on his desk, and within minutes turned to Guy with an unimpressed look. "You are the Oyubo that found the body," she said. It wasn't a question. "Guy Collins, I'm a journalist from—" "I know who you are," she cut him off. "My name is Amaka. I got you out, but don't mistake that for trust." Outside the station, under a flickering streetlight with generators humming in the distance, Amaka explained, in clipped, careful sentences, that the dead woman at Club Onyx was the 4th in 3 months, all young women, all bearing the same surgical marks, all from poor communities in Ajegunle and Mushin. The police went investigating. They were covering, and Amaka, a former forensic nurse turned grassroots activist, had been tracking this pattern alone, until tonight handed her an unlikely ally in a lost British journalist with nothing to lose. "So," she said, lighting a cigarette and staring down the empty road, "you want to write a real story, or you want to go back to your hotel and pretend you saw nothing?" Guy looked at her for a long moment. Then he said, "Tell me everything." Amaka's one-room office in Surulere was wallpapered with photographs, printed emails, hand-drawn maps, and red strings connecting names to locations, like a spider's web of secrets. Guy stood in the middle of it, coffee in hand, trying to absorb everything at once. 4 victims, all female, ages ranging from 19 to 26. All had been lured with promises of domestic work or modeling jobs through a recruitment agency called Gold Star Placements, a business registered on paper to a shell company with an address that led to an empty plot of land in Lekki Phase 2. Amaka had been building this case for 8 months. The police had dismissed her twice. A lawyer friend who had agreed to help her had suddenly relocated to Canada without explanation. She had learned not to be surprised by disappearances in Lagos. Their first real break came from an unexpected source, a young man named Tunde, a former driver for Gold Star Placement, who agreed to meet them at a buka in Yaba over plates of jollof rice he barely touched. He was visibly terrified, glancing at the door every few minutes, speaking in a low voice that barely rose above the noise of the lunch crowd. He told them that Gold Star was a front. The women weren't being placed in homes or agencies. They were being transported in unmarked vans to a private medical facility somewhere along the Badagry Expressway. He had seen it once. He had asked no questions. He had resigned the next morning. But the detail that made Guy's blood run cold was what Tunde said last, almost as a whisper, that the facility had a refrigerated shipping unit, that organs were being harvested and exported, and that the man whose name kept appearing on the facility's private invoices was not a criminal, not a trafficker, not a thug from the streets of Lagos. He was Senator Emmanuel Adora, chairman of the National Health Reform Committee, a man currently campaigning loudly for the upcoming elections on a platform of protecting Nigeria's most vulnerable citizens. Amaka stopped out her cigarette slowly. Guy set down his pen. Outside, Lagos roared on, oblivious, unstoppable, and full of people who had no idea how deep the rot went. They moved fast, because in Lagos, hesitation was death. Guy filed an encrypted draft of the full investigation to his editor in London as a safety net, with strict instructions. If I go silent for 48 hours, publish everything. Amaka contacted a trusted investigative journalist at a Lagos independent newspaper and a human rights lawyer in Abuja who had previously prosecuted a trafficking ring in Kano. They weren't going to the police, not in a city where Inspector Bello had been seen twice outside Senator Adora's campaign office on Bordelon Road. Instead, they built a wall of evidence so thick and so wide that burying it would require burying too many people at once. Tunde provided a signed statement. Amaka's 8 months of documented research formed the backbone. Guy's eyewitness account of the body at Club Onyx and the suspicious speed of his arrest added the international dimension that made the story impossible to ignore. The story broke on a Tuesday morning, simultaneously published in London, Lagos, and Nairobi. By noon, it had been picked up across the continent. By evening, Senator Emmanuel Adora's campaign convoy was surrounded not by supporters, but by protesters. The Gold Star Placement office in Lekki was raided by federal authorities, reportedly tipped off by sources within the Senate itself, rivals who had long suspected Adora but needed someone else to light the match. 3 arrests were made at the Badagry facility. The refrigerated unit was exactly where Tunde said it would be. The senator himself released a statement denying all involvement, but by then, the court of public opinion had already delivered its verdict. He was suspended pending investigation within 72 hours. Amaka stood on Kata Bridge that evening, looking out over Lagos Lagoon as the sun melted into the water in streaks of orange and gold. Guy stood beside her, finally without a notebook in his hand. "Will it be enough?" he asked quietly. She was silent for a long moment. "It's never enough," she said, "but it is stat. And in this city, a stat is everything." Guy looked at the skyline, the cranes, the traffic, the lights flickering on one by one across the island, and for the first time since landing, he felt something that wasn't fear or confusion. He felt the weight of what the truth could do when someone was brave enough to carry it. And that's a wrap on organ trade on Victoria Island. To everyone who read this from start to finish, whether you're in Ghana, Nigeria, South Africa, California, Jamaica, Trinidad, New York, Florida, Kenya, or London, thank you. You are the reason stories like this get told. A huge shout out to everyone who liked, followed, and shared this story with their 3 best friends or family on WhatsApp. You are helping truth travel further than power ever expected. And if you haven't liked or followed yet, that's okay. But please, share this with someone you care about. Just forward it. You never know whose eyes need to see it. Ebb. This story reminds us that power without accountability is the most dangerous weapon of all. The most devastating crimes are not always committed in dark alleyways. Sometimes they are signed off in boardrooms, protected by badges, and hidden behind campaign smiles. It takes ordinary people, a stubborn journalist, a fearless woman with nothing but truth on her side, to pull back the curtain, speak up, document everything,
And never let the powerful convince you that silence is safety. The voiceless are counting on those of us who still have a voice.